Welcome to Beyond the Basement, the complete Attack on Titan podcast. In this show, we're not just rewatching, we're going behind the scenes, deep into the anime story, unearthing intrigue, and exploring new theories about the Attack on Titan universe. The majority of each episode is spoiler-free. Then, after a warning, we'll take a few minutes to connect the dots with storylines from future episodes. You can find us wherever you listen to podcasts, but don't forget, you can join us for the live broadcast Sunday nights on Facebook and watch every episode on YouTube. Links will be in the show notes. With that, let's get into the conversation. Clink the glasses. Welcome back, everyone. Beyond the Basement. We're your hosts. I'm Eric Hansen.
I'm Pete.
And we're going to go through episode 2. You want to give us an intro? Give us a cool voice intro to this one?
This is season 1, episode 2. That day, the fall of Shiganshina.
So if this show, if we were the subs, no. Yeah, we were the dubs. If we were the dubs for the show, you'd be the narrator.
Yeah.
You'd say those parts.
Let's practice real quick.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, hit me.
You gotta make the mouth, and then I gotta say it.
Oh, okay, ready?
Yeah. Episode 2, the fall, that day of Shiganshina.
It's perfect.
It's perfect.
Yeah, all right. Anyway, so episode 2 is really a continuation of episode 1. I mean, I think...
It's part 2 of the fall of Shiganshina.
Part 2 of Fall of Shiganshina, and basically these two episodes... We were discussing this earlier. They almost should just be one, but obviously 20-minute time limit, so on and so forth. Worth mentioning, I'm not sure if we said this in the previous podcast, but worth mentioning if you're watching this for the first time, like the main characters do not stay kids for very long. It's just these first 2 episodes. These first 2 episodes are really like they have to have them to set up the story. They're really well done. I don't regret these episodes, but They got to have them to set up the story. So where we pick up in episode 2, we're going to do a quick overview here, and then we'll dig into each kind of detail, each scene. It starts out with the narrator lady explains the 3 walls. There's the distance between them.
It's a lady. Isn't it Eren's voice?
Is it? It sounds like a woman to me.
Somebody tell us who it is.
Okay, we're gonna have to do some more. We'll tell you. We'll find out.
We'll tell you
guys,
who it is.
You
but
just
tell
relax.
us who you think it is.
Yeah, tell us
if
who
you
you
thought
think
it was
it
Eren,
is.
or if you thought it was
it's
some
Angelina
woman.
Jolie or something.
Yeah.
Which it's not because I don't think she speaks Japanese. Anyway. So she explains the 3 walls. They explain a little bit of even the design of the walls kind of in there at some point in the episode. And then basically where we start off this episode where the previous one left off, there's chaos, despair, people just getting killed. There's this kind of weird priest guy saying strange stuff, and they're trying to escape. They're trying to escape from Shiganshina, or from the city, which is we find out is a little alcove on the very outside of the walls. Yep. And as they're trying to escape, this even more bizarre Titan. We've seen one that was enormous, right? Who breaks through the first wall. Yeah. And we see a second one jump in as they're trying to escape, and he breaks through the next wall, which again, they explain. You have the alcove, then you have the actual wall. So anyway, so they basically, these 2 crazy Titans make sure that all these other dumb ones can break through the little alcove and into the main part of the outer wall. So that guarantees Titans are going to come flooding through. So then Eren, Armin, Mikasa escape on the boats. Then we have this scene where we see Eren's dad really quick, and Eren has kind of this weird dreamlike scene with his dad. Then when he wakes up, he comes to, and they're we don't really know exactly. They're somewhere in the kind of inner parts of the walls. I think inner wall. They're in rows by this point.
They've all been ordered to retreat behind rows.
Yeah. So they'll let you know. Okay, the government has basically ordered everybody in. Wall Maria now has to retreat behind Wall Rose because it's just a matter of time before the Titans invade the whole freaking thing now because they've breached. So they are on their way in. The scene with the dad. Then they kind of have this scene with the soldiers and about the rations and stuff like that. And we find out a bunch of Eren's motivations. And kind of the relationship between Armin, Mikasa explains more of their characters. And then it ends with Eren saying, I'm going to join the cadets. And it ends with the final scene is he's at boot camp. They're all at boot camp. It's day 1. And Eren's I'm going to kill every single freaking Titan. And that's, to be continued. So that's kind of the bones of the episode. What do you want to jump into first here? We want to kind of go chronologically. You want to talk about the walls?
Yeah, I think we should go chronologically.
Okay.
Step by step.
So, first thing she explains is the walls, which is worth explaining a little bit, especially to a first timer, which would be that the way the whole world, this is important because I actually watched the show for quite a while. I think I made it basically through the first season. I don't know. I feel like I just skipped those parts. So they're just I wasn't paying attention, but I didn't really understand.
There's so much information to retain, and there's so many unknowns.
Yeah, right.
Part of the reason I really love this show is because the premise obviously is something really original. It's really unique. but it's also they give you just enough information
Uh-huh.
to where you're like, okay, I have the premise, but you don't know anything else.
Right.
Where do the Titans come from?
Yep.
Where do the walls come from?
No one
Who are
knows.
the people? What's the landmass look like?
Yep.
Where's the topography? Where's the history, right? All we know is Titans showed up about 100 years ago.
Yep. Oh, they explain that, right? They say that. Yeah. Humanity, yeah, Titans show up.
Yeah.
Humanity's freaked out and then
they're
builds
eaten
the
to
walls.
almost extinction.
Yep.
These giant creatures who are super strong and they have a hunger for human flesh and they're eating every human they can and they're eaten almost to extinction. The survivors build the walls supposedly, right? And what's survivors like? Wasn't there a constant onslaught of Titans coming?
They don't explain any of that.
They explain it. They say, hey,
they don't explain how they made them so big. We don't know what they're made out of. Like none of that.
We don't know where they came. Are they aliens that come up from the ground? Are they where they spawned? We don't know what it is. So all we know is Titans showed up. Humanity built walls. They've been relatively safe behind the walls for about 100 years. Like that's all you know. Like that's everything. Like I got a better written, or oral like history from my grandfather. Like let alone Google and whatnot. So So the walls are set up. There's 3 of them. There's 3 main walls. Inner rings.
Maria, Rose, and Sina.
Right, but they say it like Shina.
Yeah, they say.
I don't want to be a gaijin. So.
In Japanese, Shina.
Yeah.
And then on the very outside is the alcoves on the outside of wall. Maria is these little alcoves, and each of those little alcoves are designed to attract Titans. So if there is a breach, it can be contained.
Right. The Titans. It's kind of like you. In an RTS, right? You funnel the enemy where you want them to go, right? Yep. So they're funneling Titans. Look at these alcoves. Look at all these juicy humans. All the Titans gather there instead of trying to breach the wall somewhere in the middle, so that the alcoves, there's double layer of protection. There's an outer wall, and then there's the inner wall, which is the wall Maria. And so even if Titans breach the outer wall, that city's lost. Sucks for you guys. It's only one way in, but they haven't breached the overall wall, which is huge and massive, right? Which is wall Maria. And so this giant Titan appears. Don't know, what's going on. He kicks the wall in. Oh my gosh!
He kicks the alcove wall in first, right? That's episode 1.
Yeah, which is within that city, inside the alcove wall, Shiganshina, and they all these Titans flood in. Oh my goodness, right? Everyone's freaking out. They run for their lives in this utter terror, this utter panic. There's a scene of a woman and she's trapped in an alleyway, right? And you're like, oh, the hero's gonna cut.
Nope, no heroes.
No heroes are coming.
Nope. Titan just picks her up. Coming. He leans in. She's stuck in an alley. He leans in, grabs her by the head, and we see her shoe drop.
Yeah. There's the creepy priest guy who's like, this is doomsday, right? He gets eaten.
He's saying kind of almost like this show is interesting, right? It's this Japanese show. Yeah. Clearly plays off of essentially almost like a steampunk Middle Ages Europe, right? Which is another thing they don't really explain. No, for sure not by this point.
Technology, where they've gotten stuff.
The technology they have, which we'll get to that when they get to the boats and stuff too. But this technology they have, none of that's really clear, but it has that motif. This is surely a European-esque kind of motif. And what the heck was it? What the heck was I going to say? Oh, yeah. So when what am I trying to say? The shoe drops. That's what I was trying to say.
Yeah.
There's all these things in the show where I'm like, they're Japanese. I'm not sure if they meant to do this or not, but the shoe drops is a very English, American expression.
Waiting for the other shoe to drop.
Yeah, exactly. Waiting for the other shoe to drop. It's, I don't know. Anyway, there's lots of things in this show that have this feeling or whatever to it. But like I said, it's a Japanese show, Japanese actors and stuff like that. And the thing is that plays into, I don't know. Well, okay, we'll move on to my next point. I don't want to give too much away. I'm getting ahead of myself.
Just enough.
Anyway, so the walls. Okay, so they break through the walls. Terror, despair. Oh, that's right, the priest guy. That's where I was going with this. So the priest guy is saying Bible verse type stuff, right?
Yeah, it's not quite scripture, but it's close. Right?
So even in the sub version, what he's saying is these and thous, and this kind of what grace from heaven and what punishment for our sins and blah blah blah. And he's doing this awkward thing where he's walking towards the Titans while everyone's kind of running the other direction. He's calmly walking,
and he's saying this is the judgment that we've earned. Basically, this is the punishment, right?
Yeah.
And then you're like, oh, I see. These creatures are from some deity, and they're the punishment, right? Mm-hmm. And he's part of this religion that's declared. And then the Titan grabs him and eats him. And you're like, nope.
Yep.
Everyone's wrong. No one's getting saved. Everyone's gonna get killed. This is a massacre. You can't reason with them. You can't talk to them. They're going to eat you.
And this is the way to start off a story, if you ask me. one day we'll put this out there, but you and I and a couple other friends of ours actually rewritten like Star Wars prequels, and one of the things we determined was like, in order to really like set up the Star Wars prequels, you'd have to have like essentially a tragedy. At least episode 2 must begin on like an actual, like, it needs to seem like there's no hope, and so that a hope can be like born and like birthed. And that's what they're doing, and especially in these 2 episodes, is like they're setting you like there's a lot of tragedy, right? Mm-hmm. They I'm kind of getting ahead of myself here too, but they mentioned this episode that the retreat happens, humanity's like retreating, and they actually, there's a food shortage, and they're handing out rations, there's not enough for everybody, so they decide to like assemble an army of 250,000 people and send them back out into the wall to try and like fight at the Titans.
And a lot of them, at least 900, are just peasants. They're just like nobodies.
They're nobodies, and they go out there, and of course they're slaughtered. It says of that 250,000, like a few hundred
remained.
A few hundred are left, so it's a massacre. And then it actually mentions like, oh well, the food shortage kind of got.
That's one way of resolving it. It's just like, fodder, right?
Right.
But this gets into another point of like, remember the first episode, the mother, she goes to the scouts and said, "Did my son's life mean something?"
Mm-hmm.
Did his life mean something? Did my son, did his death, did it actually help us, right? And Keith, the commander, says no, and that breaks him.
Yeah,
right?
like breaks
that
down.
gives him like that's what sets him off into PTSD shell shock mode, and he's just like right. And
this is how you start off the story. This is how you motivate your characters, right? Specifically, Eren. He's obviously our main character. You motivate him, and we see this entire episode basically explains. For episode 1 is like, what happened? Episode 2 is like, what's Eren going to do about it, right? Like, why is he, who is this character? And it's interesting, and we start out with him as like basically a little kid, and by the end of this episode, he's a young man, right? And so he's kind of, we're watching some years essentially unfold in this episode. Yeah. And for him, for Armin, for Mikasa, like they're motivated by like, the first episode they talk a lot about vision, kind of this like freedom, like what's beyond the walls, sort of a curiosity.
There's a hope.
And the second episode, it's like despair.
Yeah.
Everyone's like, no, there isn't hope. 250,000 people getting like massacred. Like there's nothing you can do against these Titans. And Eren swears, like I'm going to kill every single one of them. And like I said, this is how you start off a good story, because you're like, all right, now I know where the redemption needs to happen.
Yeah. Yeah. And then the whole series is just building to that redemption. You're begging for it. You want justice to be done. Right. Mm-hmm. And so, it starts off with this hope. Maybe one day we'll get, beyond the walls. And then it quickly moves to, even what we have is not safe.
Yep.
And this episode really sets the good tone of a natural disaster, right? Like of when a 9/11 happens, when
absolutely
a fire happens, when an explosion happens,
the helplessness feeling.
You feel helpless.
Mm-hmm.
And they're showing people on the boats, and they're just saying, oh God, this can't be happening, right? And there's panic, and you can't, it's so surreal.
Yeah. It's like they're trying to show like that. We'll get to the boats here in a second, but yeah, even that is like, it's like reminiscent of like, what am I trying to say? Titanic, right? And like people like piling into lifeboats and like
jumping, and
we're in the middle of the freaking ocean. Yeah, like what are we gonna do?
You hear stories of people, during like tragedies, like throwing their kids out the window to try to save them from a fire. But like, it's so sad because you feel so helpless, right? And this goes back to the theme of Eren talking about, is humanity just livestock?
Mm-hmm.
Are we just trapped in here, prisoners, just to be eaten by these Titans?
Yep.
And what happens?
Very well illustrated by the boat scene, right? They're literally like livestock, right there. They're just crammed into this thing. Yeah.
What happens when you're the prey, right? What happens when everything you trust in, these walls will protect us, right? Nope, even that's removed. You can't even have hope for one day getting beyond the walls, because even your own home is taken away from you. Your hope is now, maybe I'll survive.
Yeah.
Right? And when
I'm lucky.
when you're under extreme panic, there's no hope for tomorrow, which means you become very depressed, right? There's a depression that happens. People are dealing with their grief completely differently, and it really sets the scene of the hopelessness, the despair, the powerlessness, and that's what you feel when you've gone through a tragedy. I'm sure lots of us have gone through different tragedies of our loved ones, or things happen where you just feel
it's weirdly
so
relatable.
Helpless. Yeah,
it's what I was talking about last time. It's like it's a science fiction. There's something in the science fiction genre. There's actual science in there. Supposed to be, right? There's a sense in which, like, I mentioned, like, Jurassic Park's favorite movie of mine. There's a lot of things in that in the movie that are believable, right? Gravity still works the same way, and like aggressive creatures are scary, and like this idea of like genetic science and so on and so forth. I mean, all that stuff that relates back to reality. The narrative is fictional, right?
Right.
The show weirdly has a lot of that. Like, that's why it's such a good show. It's like it is entirely fictional, but it just plays deeply into real human like desires and fears and stuff like that.
And that's why it's a good story, is because if it's not relatable, not going to be a good story, right?
So, all right. So weird priest guy happens. So then we get to a pretty pivotal scene.
Yeah.
We finally catch back up with Eren and Mikasa in the arms of Hannes, whatever, and Eren like is punching him, whatever. He literally throws him.
Yeah.
He like chucks him.
Anytime I get mad, I just throw a kid. So it's totally relatable there.
And then especially when I just watched, his mom get eaten by a giant.
Yeah.
So he throws him because Eren is like, I could have saved my mother.
Yeah.
Right. And then I'll let you get into this part.
He's got this false hope of, no, we could have done it. And the Hannes has to like level him with the truth. Sometimes the truth hurts. And he says, listen, the reason your mom died is because you were too weak to save her. And it's like, oh man.
He's not wrong.
He's not wrong, but God, talk about just sticking in like a wound. You're going to have to go to therapy for a long time, right? The reason your mom dies, you're too weak. And then, Eren gets really mad and he goes to throw a punch. Hannes catches the punch and he looks him in the eye with tears streaming down his face. And he says, and the reason we couldn't save her is because I was too cowardly.
Yeah, to stand up to the Titan. He says, I couldn't face the Titan because I didn't have the courage.
They share this moment of what they both lack, right? And it's almost like a Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. No, sorry, Wizard of Oz. Yeah. There's a lion, the Tin Man, right? Like he doesn't have a heart, he doesn't have a brain. Hannes is saying we both lack something to fight these Titans. I lack the courage, you lack the strength. And this sets the motivation for the characters going forward. Mm-hmm. Eren's like, I have to do something to make this right. So it's such a justice centered character, which a good hero will be. Cares about the truth, cares about what's right, wants to stand up even if he throws his life away. But he realizes his mom told him most important thing is to survive. And Hannes told him, you need to get strong.
Yep.
Okay. So there's Eren's motivation in these first two episodes.
Yep, there's his motivation as a character. We by the end of the episode, we get into Mikasa's motivation to essentially protect Eren, and we see a little bit of Armin with Armin's motivation. So whatever, we'll get there. Okay, so pivotal scene because we're explaining this is Eren's motivations, and again, very relatable because the tragedy has just happened at this point. Like he's just lost his mom. It's probably within hours, or minutes. We don't really know. And Eren kind of has his own little flashback, and he actually says to himself, like, I can't go back home. I'll never, and he flashes back to that scene. He's like, why was the last thing I did? Why did I fight over something so banal, something so, insignificant with my mom? Like, his dad, has just left. He fights with his mom. That's the last conversation. I mean, his last conversation is his mom telling him, the most important thing is survive. But,
why didn't he tell her he loved her? Why didn't I say, and it's something that people all the time go through.
Again, so relatable. Anybody who's been through something like that.
Why didn't I do this right? Why didn't I tell him I love? Why didn't I kiss my loved ones? I got to kiss my loved ones every time. And it gives you this real empathy feeling of, man, that could be me right there. Right. I could have done something stupid just like that and lost everything. And so you're totally relating to this despair that everyone's feeling as they're fleeing during this little pivotal scene with Hannes and Mikasa and Eren.
So after that, Hannes drops him off at the what?
Before that happens, there's blood, there's guts. It's sad. Mikasa gets
she has a little flashback. She has a little
flashback, but
can't spill the beans on that one. But if you're watching the first time, again, every frame, there's a little bit of meaning. Even random characters in the background will almost always show up later. That's one of them.
She grabs her head, says, "It happened again."
Uh-huh.
What?
Yeah, what happened again?
Okay. Yeah, all right, Mikasa.
Pay attention to that one. Okay, story gets deep. So then Hannes drops him off at the boats, which these are the escape boats. And this is what I was mentioning earlier. They have weird technology.
Yeah.
Right? They fight with swords, but they have cannons. I'm not spoiling too much here. You do find out that they do have guns. So I mean, they have cannons. You assume they would have guns.
They have
gunpowder
that makes them multi-directional.
Yeah, they kind of have the sort of maybe steam powered omnimobility, ODM gear or whatever. And then they have these river lines. They've thought through the walls. The walls are kind of a bit of a technology, and then they have these rivers that go in between the walls. Just they don't really explain much of that either. The Titans just go through water. I don't. Well, no, they can't. I don't want to spill the beans.
We don't know.
We don't know. So
well, we do know.
So they get shoved onto these boats, and these boats are it's almost an industrial revolution version of the trains, the passenger trains, the downtown Max light rail. That's what I'm trying to say. Light rail trains are powered from above with the electricity.
Yeah,
it's like that.
These are
these weird
paper that's almost like an organ.
Yeah,
not
for the story per se, but to me, like stuff like that, I love it because I'm like, this is so creative. And like, what's his face? What's the creator's name again? I don't. Yeah, all right. Listen, it's a Japanese name. Sorry, we're gringos. We have a hard time with doing non-gaijin names.
Yeah.
But he like is so imaginative, is so creative to like put stuff into the show that's that like detailed.
Nuanced.
Anyway, I love that. Again, we kind of covered this. They're getting shoved onto the boats. Oh, we meet Armin again. Armin's on the boat. He goes to like wave to them. He's with his grandfather.
Yeah.
And he goes to wave to them. And he's like, you don't know what they've seen today. Just let them get on the boat. So they get on the boat and they're just like all in terror. Like, we're the livestock now. And the boat starts to leave. People are jumping onto it. It's an old Titanic thing.
Yeah.
So then
gates being lowered.
Yeah, the gates. So then the gates are getting lowered. And Hannes is trying to like, you kind of already see him trying to like redeem himself because he's like, wait, no, there's still people out there. And so that's when, they got the cannons out there. They're like trying to shoot down these Titans. They're missing, right?
Yeah. And the theme comes up of, is the weight of the few versus the many, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's people still outside the walls, but one of the soldiers says, yeah, but their lives are going to be worth nothing if we don't get the walls closed and Titans get into Wall Maria.
And he's not wrong, right?
No.
Like these Titans are going to get in. And at this point, it's just the alcove that's breached, right? The main wall has not been breached at this point. It's about to happen. But he's actually right. He's like, okay, we've got a few hundred people or however many people in here, but there's, tens and hundreds of thousands of people behind us. And if we let these Titans get through, that's it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, they're all dead too. So it is this, I can't remember what the thing is called. There's like a philosophical, like an ethics exercise.
Right.
You see in the first Spider-Man movie, the Sam Raimi ones way back when he has to like save Mary Jane or save a bus full of kids. Like, what do you do here? Again, really good play. Because like that's an interesting ethical exercise, but in Spider-Man, he gets to save both, and in this show, you don't. You let them die, and it's like that's again.
In fact, not only do they not get the gate fully closed, but the wall gets breached anyways. We see this other giant-looking Titan, right? And this one looks a little bit different than the other Titans that have been flooding the wall. That have been eating
some
people.
Dummy trying to eat everybody.
He looks like he's got something going on. He's got these crazy eyes. He's got these like muscles that are like showing through.
Impenetrable to cannon fire.
Yeah, he's like shrugging off cannon fire like no big deal, right? And he just sprints dead long, breaks the gate, breaks through Wall Maria, stands up in victory, and everyone just freaks out and says, "Oh no!"
And then fade to black again. They don't tell you what. They tell you no more.
That's it.
Fade to black, and then. Then we get. I think that is when it cuts to the scene to Eren's.
Yeah.
Eren's
well,
dad.
as they're on the boat, they're going away.
Right.
They got away. Eren on the boat, right? Eren and Mikasa and Armin's grandpa. They got away, and
motivation scene.
And we see Eren, right, and he's having the same conversation that all of us have had if we've gone through a tragedy. Why couldn't I stop this? Why wasn't I strong enough? Why couldn't I? Why was I so worthless, right? And he's so frustrated with his own inability to actually do something that matters. He's sitting there, everyone's panicked, everyone's crying, he's crying, he looks down, he's got blood and tears in his hands, right? Maybe the blood of his mother in his hands. And he says, I'm so weak. Why am I so weak? Why is humanity weak? All I can do is cry. And it's, again, man, if you ever, seen a loved one die, or if you've seen some terrible thing happen that you couldn't control, you're so relatable to that moment. Yeah,
it's the helplessness of it.
And while everyone in the boat is panicking, freaking out, Eren stands up. Mikasa's like, Eren, shut up, Mikasa. Walks by her. Armin's like, are you okay? He's like, get off of me. Eren, tears stained, filled in his eyes, goes to the edge of the boat and says, I'm gonna kill every one of you Titans, right? And like another relatable moment because we've all had tears stained in our eyes, making deep oaths in our heart of the things that we're gonna do one day.
Everyone else is like, how are we gonna survive? And Eren's like, I'm gonna kill them all.
Like everyone's thinking of themselves. Eren's like, I'm gonna get justice on these Titans for what they've done.
So then we cut to actually real quick note on this because I have this written down here. This is where Eren does a quick flashback to his conversation with Hannes, and he reviews right as he's like saying that, he kind of reviews in his head when Hannes says to him like, it's because you're weak, whatever. And he goes like, he's like basically swearing himself, like, I won't be weak anymore. Like, I'll find a way.
It's fine strength.
So then we cut to a scene. We just get, I have to tell you, if you're a first timer, this one is important. Pay attention. Pay attention to everything. It's confusing, but it is important and it will become clear in time. But we cut to Eren's dad, who I'm just going to give his name away. It's Grisha, right? Grisha Yeager. I don't know if they had said that or not in the first few episodes.
They might have just called him Dr. Yeager, but it's not a spoiler.
Yeah,
his
it's not
Grisha.
really straight. Yeah.
He's on the stagecoach.
Yeah, he's on the stagecoach, and we just get this like he goes, Eren, Carla, Mikasa, I hope you're alive.
Please
okay.
be
And he's like, yeah, he's like cheering after whatever. Carla, this must be his mother. I don't even know if they mentioned her name really.
I don't even know if they did either. But we know, in the first episode, he went away to the interior, right? Terrible scenario where your wife and kids are home while that tragedy happens.
And a few hours later, or the next day or something like that, freaking the walls.
He's riding home and you're just praying, you're just begging, let my wife and kids be okay, right? Yeah. In the next scene, we see a flame. It's dark, a twinge.
Eren's screaming Dad, what the heck? Stop it.
Eren's dad looks like he's drunk. He's got one eye. He's got this syringe, right? And you're like, what are you shooting up over here? What's going on, right?
And he's telling him, he's like, no, this is for your own good. And he's like, Dad, stop. You've been crazy ever since
mom died.
Ever since mom died, yeah.
Yeah, and he says, trust me, I'm doing this for your own good.
Yep,
don't forget the key.
Yeah.
Don't forget the key.
He says
the key is the key to truth.
Yeah, remember the key. It's the way to the truth.
Yeah.
Okay.
One day you'll understand.
It's cutting back and forth between
the key, the flames, the syringe.
And then
stick out your arm is what he says.
Yeah, stick out your arm. So the dream or whatever it is ends, the key kind of drops to the ground, and then Eren wakes up.
Yeah.
And we're in this what we find out pretty quickly is a refugee camp, right? Yeah. So obviously, like we mentioned before, they kind of tell the details here about how there's the 250,000 have been sent out to battle, basically there's a bunch of refugees, there's a food shortage.
Yeah.
250,000 get sent out to battle and die, blah blah. So we're in the middle of kind of the refugee crisis here.
Right. Not enough food.
Eren,
everyone's packed into a tight area.
Yeah, everyone's packed in some little city. Eren kind of wakes up and says, I think I was with my father or whatever. And Mikasa actually tells him,
"Oh, it's a dream.
It's a dream."
Yeah.
Right. But Eren looks down and sees around his neck the key that we just saw in this dream. Right.
Yeah.
So how the heck does he have this key? Did Mikasa if it wasn't a dream, how did Mikasa not know that he was missing or what about Armin? Were they with him the whole time? We didn't really see them how they got to this city, but we just know they're three random kids.
Some time has passed. No one knows how long. No one knows what's gone on in that meantime. It's just been chaos.
Yep.
And in the midst of that, this is actually something that this scene specifically is something that we in our friend group, and we watched it. We actually had to go back and rewatch it several times.
Multiple times because we were trying to figure out what that
about. Well, no, this happened. No, this happened, but they don't give you quite enough details to really piece everything together.
Yep.
Until later.
Yeah, this is these two episodes and others. You almost have to come back and reference them because the story gets. It's not that it's so complicated. It is a little complex, but it's because it's kind of deep, and you're wait a second. So, all right. So the key thing happens, and then. There's these two there's the food rations being passed out. Eren overhears a soldier say we're giving up our rations to feed these refugees.
Refugees.
Yeah, these two people if they talked about feeding them back to the Titans or make some remark. Eren kicks him in the shin.
Yeah,
and again,
Eren being Eren.
Another adult in the show just strikes a child no problem. Not good, guys. Not a good culture.
If we could just cut back a little bit
on the hitting of the children.
Yeah.
That would be best.
Or whatever European cities inspired by Japanese culture.
Yeah, please. So,
but they say, they're mad at these refugees because all their food, there's already a food shortage, and they should be grateful. And Eren's so mad because these guys are the same type of guys that have been drinking.
Yeah,
they're
training. Interior kind of soldiers or whatever
they're
too.
Garrison. They never see any action. They never fight Titans. And Eren says, "You don't know what it's like
to
see a Titan eat a human."
Yeah.
Right? You're talking so flippantly. You don't know what it's like to actually see combat. Right?
Yeah.
And he's seen it. And these guys they have such a low regard for human life. This kind of is almost like an Avenger point, right? You can go to the Infinity Gauntlet and Thanos. Yeah. Thanos is there's a shortage of food. Best thing to do is kill everybody. And it's but if you're worried about human lives,
then why would you
killing human lives doesn't?
Yeah, and then you have to deem one more important than another, and why do you do that?
So it's wrong, right?
Yeah.
And you have to come to the conclusion human lives are intrinsically valuable.
Another moral conundrum that they put in the show.
but these guards all they care about is themselves.
Yep.
And this is the second stage of the tragedy because the first was, you got to escape immediately from the Titans killing you. But the war is not over because the next is now there's a ton of refugees packed in this camp. How are we all going to eat? You're not out of the fire. You're out of the frying pan into the fire. You're not out of trouble yet. We all have to eat somehow.
Yep.
That's when they take a bunch of people and say, hey, we're going to go retake Wall Maria.
Yeah, we're going to send you out to battle.
Yeah,
but maybe
250,000 people,
not.
and they all get died, and among them is Armin's grandpa.
Yep. And okay, so in this, so this little tiff with the soldiers. So that happens. Eren starts yelling at him, gets into it with, and Armin jumps in and does what becomes very characteristic of Armin, which is he's diplomatic.
Armin pulling an Armin.
He's trying to be like clever and stuff. He's like, no, he didn't mean it. Like he's like, sorry, whatever.
Yeah.
He tries to like calm the situation down, and then once he kind of resolves it a little bit and apologizes on his behalf, like Eren throws his bread. He's like, I don't want this crap.
Yeah.
Like I want to go kill freaking Titans. I don't need to rely on free handouts or whatever. Like yells at Armin and calls him a coward and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
Armin reveals here these like, like he reveals that his parents have died, which doesn't, again, I think I almost need to go back and rewatch that part and like try and catch something in the dialogue. But
we didn't see Armin's parents on the boat.
Nope.
But we see Armin's grandpa on the boat.
Right.
So we don't know exactly
So
when
he died
at
sometime
this
in the
point.
past.
Yeah.
And then whatever, they get into this heated argument. Eren starts mixing his words, and Mikasa freaking decks him and is like, shut up. Like, you're going to live. She literally shoves the bread in his mouth like, you're going to live. And
why? Why is he going to live? She says, I won't let you starve.
Yeah, I won't let you starve.
Eren's mother's last words, you have to survive.
You have to survive. And there's definitely sort of this vibe from like, because Eren's mom, first episode before the Titans, whatever, tells Mikasa like, look after him, basically. Right?
It's like some of her last words in Mikasa are, you have to look after Eren.
Yeah.
He's always doing things that are headstrong and crazy. You have to look after.
Watch out for him. And so you kind of get this, like, this is, again, what makes a great story is you get these three characters, and again, you see a little bit of each of them, and it's just as kids here, but these things kind of stay true throughout the rest of the season, the rest of the show, and, like, that intermix of personalities is what's needed essentially to save the day, to do the task, to get the stuff done. You need the Armin who's diplomatic, who's intelligent. You need Mikasa who's like strong and sworn to protect Eren, and you need Eren's like passion to like get vengeance. Essentially, like these things they intermingle and they create this kind of beautiful painting in the story, which I really love. So
well, and then they go. That kind of ties right in to their pledges. Eren says, I'm not just going to eat like livestock, right? I'm not just going to be fatted up, right? And it kind of goes back to that same theme is like, are we just nothing more than another meal for a Titan, or is our lives worth something, right?
Yeah.
Eren seems to think, fighting this guard, hey, even these human refugees are worth something, right?
Yep.
And he's going to fight for the dignity of that, but he says, I'm going to join the scouts. I'm going to kill all the Titans.
Yeah.
And
immediately, so they cut to the scene. After the little tiff, like that's when they cut to the scene where they explain the refugee thing, and then that's when they go to. It's almost again like a little fast forward there.
Yeah.
And Eren's voice is a little deeper, and he's like, next year.
Yeah.
I'm going to sign up. I'm going to join the cadets.
Yeah. And then he says, I'm going to join the cadets. I'm going to kill all the Titans. Right. So we know his motivation: get strong, kill Titans, bring justice. Then Armin, without skipping a beat, which is pretty, not very charismatic or not very characteristic of Armin, because normally he's pretty reserved, he's pretty scared, he's pretty nervous.
Yep.
He immediately says, I'm going to join the cadets too. Eren's like, what? So Eren's going to join the cadets because he wants to get strong. He wants to kill Titans. Armin's going to join the cadets because he wants to avenge his grandpa. He knows it's the right thing to do. And Mikasa says, I'm going to join the cadets
to make sure you don't fucking die.
Eren's going to join the cadets, right? Exactly. So we have that three motivations.
Yeah. So our little best friends have kind of been made. And then this episode ends on like basically day one of basic training or whatever it is, and we see a character we've actually already seen in the first episode. Keith Sadies. He's one walking in. When Eren and them, he's like, oh look, the scouts are coming in through the gate or whatever, and they're all beat up, and he's like has to tell that widow or the mother or whatever that is the whatever. That's the same guy. Just trying to make the connection for you guys because it's something I missed. So. We see Keith, he's in this camp now, and he's yelling at these recruits, and he's like, I'm going to freaking make soldiers out of you guys. We see a bunch of faces who we'll get to know more. And
he tells them, right now, all you are is livestock.
Titan fodder.
Yeah. And that's like the core of what Eren hates, right? And he says, in 3 years. In 3 years, when you stand before the Titans again, are you going to be livestock, or are you going to be a Titan killing machine?
Yep.
Eren, deep in his eyes, says, like, I'm going to kill them all.
I'm going to kill every single one. Like, that's like what he's going to do. So that's the end of the episode. And then, of course, it always cuts to again, my advice is, if you don't, zero spoilers, just go to the next episode. But it does give you some nice little juicy hints after the credits. Credits roll, you get a few extra like scenes there. But this cadet scene, we just can't say too much. Should we jump into our spoiler part?
I think the last thing we should say is that soak up everything while you can right now.
Mm-hmm.
Season 1, the best music.
Oh,
classic music.
Yep.
Doesn't stick around forever, which it's like so sad.
Animes
always have to be changing their music.
The music is still good in the other seasons, but like
not as good.
Not as good as season 1.
Yeah.
Hands down.
Soak up the intro, watch the outro a couple times.
Mm-hmm.
I think it does change eventually as well. Yep. So kind of keep an eye out for that. Netflix is so quick to like, just skip the next thing. No. Don't skip all of the important things.
Yeah. So many details in this show. So if you're a first timer, you've listened to the majority of the show now. This is your official warning. If you don't want spoilers,
get out while you still can.
We're going to spend a few minutes talking to the old timers, which is probably the majority of people listening anyway. But so 3, 2, 1, hit pause now.
Get gone.
Okay.
All
right. Spoilers time. So
holy crap.
There's a ton.
Yeah.
There is a freaking ton. Okay, let me look at my first one. The Mikasa flashback.
Mikasa
flashback is happening in episode 2. We don't find out for like so long, and then they spend an entire episode explaining
what happened with
Mikasa's
her and
like
Eren
past
the stabbies.
Dude. So I think we're gonna continue to mention this, I'm sure, but the story of Attack on Titan was written beginning to end, so far as we know, before any of it was made. The manga, the show, any of that stuff. So this guy had time to like sit down and craft a story and like weave all these details in.
Things that are built upon layers upon layers.
And plant seeds like Mikasa having a flashback in episode 2.
Yeah, her seeing
it's happened again.
Bloody corpses and being like, this reminds me of a flashback of a time when I saw bloody corpses and was scarred by that for the rest of my life.
Yep. And like, knowing what we know now, it's obvious. Like, okay, Mikasa had this, like, she was basically abducted or so we think, or something like that.
Yeah, she was abducted,
Yeah.
To be sold as a sex slave, like sex trafficking, right? Which is a terrible thing
and
that happens.
And with these two guys, Eren's out with his dad or something like that, like wandering in the woods and like finds the cabin or something like that.
Yeah.
I can't remember. I don't know if because Grisha shows up. We'll get to that episode when we do.
We'll get to the episode, yeah.
But nonetheless, like Mikasa has her...
But you guys know.
Yeah, you guys know. Mikasa has her fight to the death scene with the knife and Eren and all that stuff
so
like that.
This is the first hint that we're going to get that and the end credits after every episode.
Yeah,
of
our
the
show
bloody
the
knives.
Yeah, like over
around.
And over. So again, it's great storytelling to tie in stuff like that.
Yeah.
The next thing, what was the other part that I was going to... We were talking to the soundtrack. Oh, the key. All right, so this is huge.
The key.
So again, we said this before. This episode we like came back and watched a couple times because like, no, Eren's dad hands him the key when he leaves. Like, no, Eren's dad does not do that. Eren's dad comes
kept the key with him when he went to the interior, and when he was in the interior, ate the founding titan.
Yeah, ate the royal family founding titan girl or whatever.
Yeah.
So now he has the power of the
attack.
Yeah. He has the power of the attack titan and the power of the founding titan.
Yeah.
Comes back on this like carriage. We don't even know how he finds Eren. And he finds Eren.
Nothing's explained.
He finds Eren, not only does he find him, but Mikasa and Armin don't know that he found him.
They either don't know or he showed up, went away with Eren for a while. Yeah. Eren came back. His dad wasn't with him.
Could he have wiped their memories? He has the founding titan power. He can do crap like that.
I wonder if he did.
Could he have been like, all right, well, I don't know why he would have.
Well, okay, here's the other thing we still don't know. And we've been talking about this part for like 3 seasons, for like almost a whole.
Long.
Yeah, right. It's only 3 seasons. We've been talking about this part for a long time, but we've been
3
talking
seasons,
about,
but like 5 years.
Yeah, we've been talking about this for a long time amongst our Fred group. That the fact that we don't know if Grisha going to kill the founding titan on that night has anything to do, or is it all just happenstance, coincidence of the assault on Shiganshina being the same night?
The night he leaves, because it's like so many things. They're having the ritual that night to pass on the founding titan.
Right.
Grisha seems to know. Not only does he know that it's happening that night, but he knows exactly where.
Yeah.
How does he have the information? Like, I think they do explain a little bit of that, but like he goes that night to interrupt and take the founding titan power. You can only have the titan for 13 years. Like, how long has he had the titan to this point? Eren's like what, 10-ish? Like,
yeah, so like, he's got to be close.
He's got to be close to the end of having his titan shifter power before he like dies or whatever.
Yeah.
Then like he has both these, like, the coincidence. So that happens on the same day that the walls get broken.
Reiner and Berthold's assault on humanity, right?
Yeah. So, and then I brought up a question on this one too. Is like as soon as Reiner shows up, I was like, wait a second, how old is he here?
How old is Reiner?
Yeah, because when we see him in cadet camp, he does look a little younger, right? Like he's close to Eren's age.
But think about it. Eren had to wait a year to go to cadets after the fall of Shiganshina, right? Then cadet camp for 3 more years. It's 4 more years, right?
Yeah, at least.
How long can you have the Titan power for till you die?
It's 13 years. And then he does the math in one of the later episodes. He's like, "Oh, I only have like 5 or 7 years left, or something like that."
So, which means that Reiner and Bertolt probably have even less. Like we don't officially know when they got their stuff.
Oh, you're right.
But they probably are even closer.
And you mentioned this, like maybe that's something to do with kind of Reiner sort of like losing his mind. Is maybe by the time when he's like kind of going crazy, like he's getting towards the end of that like period.
Maybe it's affecting
also,
him. Yeah,
they're handing the shifter power over to like kids,
right? And those kids are just gonna go out and just tackle some,
Must be good soldiers, I guess.
But I guess the thing that I wanted to reference is Grisha riding back to hope that his family's alive. He's coming back from just eating the founding Titan, right?
Yeah.
And then he comes back, and the thing that we just realized is when he comes and finds Eren somehow, and when he takes Eren somewhere out in the woods, and when he's going to inject him with the Titan spinal fluid, he basically said, like he had to make the decision.
To do a calculation of it for himself.
I was going to take Eren into the basement and show him the truth. I would think that he would want to keep doing that, but he has to think, should I just give him the power now and have him eat me and inherit my power because my time is so short?
Yeah, and tell him to go find out for himself, yeah.
Or should I try to turn into a Titan, pick up Eren, run into the basement.
All the way back to Shiganshina, yeah.
Through all the crazy Titans, which there could be, I don't think he knows the extent of the assault. There could be the other 5 Titans or however many that are out there right now. Titan Shifter, right? They could be out there, or it could just be a random thing that happened, but I think he knows a little better. But he's also got to be trying to avoid, I'm guessing, the garrison and the inner police.
Yeah, like he's like done this crime and makes it out.
Yeah,
right?
and there's no way the royal family is like, you killed him. You just go on, Grisha. You go do your thing. There's no, they're like, we're going to freaking kill him. We're going to take back that Titan power. So they're looking for Grisha, right? So Grisha, I think he says, look, they're looking for me. There's no way I can make it through all these Titans. I'll just give Eren the power, wipe his memory. He'll kill me.
Yep.
And no one will be onto us.
Yeah.
No one will be the wiser.
And like, again, he's probably towards the end of his time.
Yeah.
As like I said, Eren is young. Still, like he's only got 13 years. The Titan shifter power, like he got it like right before he came into the walls. Like there's got to be, So there's a lot there. The key thing I don't know. I mean, like I know all what happens now because we've gone to the basement now. But like, dang, dude, like that. What a setup! What a setup! And like, he doesn't. You mentioned this earlier. It's like a very J.J. Abrams like kind of give you just enough information to like go what? Like,
you want to know
going? But you have to know
so
more.
badly.
Another little Easter egg. We see Annie as a kid.
Yes.
Again,
getting bread
inside the walls already.
Gosh.
As a child. How? We don't know. That doesn't really fully get explained.
What a scumbag. Eating the bread that she just caused the shortage.
Well, her friends, I mean, I guess technically.
I mean, she didn't transform into a Titan, but she's part of that assault, bro.
Yeah, and
that was her.
She knows. We know she knows.
Yeah.
She's a freaking Titan shifter. She's from outside the walls.
She's not only going to cause all their parents to die, she's also like, let me get some of your bread real quick, too. Like, what a punk.
It's just as bad that the freaking Bertolt and Reiner like join the cadets and like make friends with everybody. Wait, you are like the reason we're here is you guys. Like,
but let me be your friend anyways.
Yeah. Let's see. We see Annie. I'm trying to think if there's any other like Easter egg things. Oh yeah, the fact that Armin's parents are dead. I kind of assumed like that they talk about that later because we do find out some stuff.
Remember they talk about Armin's parents being the ones in the balloon.
Yeah, but I didn't realize. Yeah, they are. Where it looks like they like tried to fly outside the wall.
Yeah, and they were killed by the interior, right?
Because they were like too inventive and so on.
Because they kept dreaming beyond the walls, which is what Armin is constantly dreaming about.
Which we still haven't found out if he's from like a special bloodline or not, but we have reason to believe he may be. But he mentions it. He mentions his parents are dead here.
I didn't
know it happened that soon.
Yeah, and it makes it sound like it was part of the Titan assault, but it wasn't.
The last thing I was going to mention was just the show in general. I'm watching and I'm like, dang, because you mentioned like there's a scene where they just show like a bell tower that's like the art and they have like the 3D like mixed in, which we both were like, oh yeah, it's like Final Fantasy VII, right? Where there's like a drawn artwork and some 3D mixed. It actually does make for a cool effect. I was thinking, I'm like, dude, the artwork in this show is great, but it could be half as good and like there's not even really a lot of animation. It's almost like watching a comic in the show,
right?
In ways, there's a lot of sort of standstill scenes.
But the story,
exactly, the story carries the whole thing. It like wouldn't matter.
Yeah,
it wouldn't really matter. Like I feel like I could be reading it, and giving obviously they have to explain some of the actions that are going on. But like I feel like I could just be doing that and still go, wow,
what a great story,
right? Deep, man, there's like crazy stuff happening.
This is how you struck gold when all the CGI. All the Hollywood dollars in the world can't get us to see certain movies because the story just sucks.
Yep.
But you give a great story, you give a great character development, you give good motivation, we'll watch it on 8-bit, bro.
Yep.
We'll read it, we'll tell our kids about it because that's how good a good story can be.
They got me to watch anime. Period. Like, I was like, Daniel shows me this show and is like, you should watch this. And I'm like, nah, I don't know, whatever. But I told him at the time, even before we started, I was like, a good story, well told. I don't care what the medium is. I'll watch it. And like, I got wrapped up. It really only took the first few episodes definitely like got me like going, oh dang, kind of got me like my wheels turning a little bit, and I started with my own theories about like, oh, what are the Titans, where they come from and so on. And like by this time, I think he'd only even watched like maybe a little bit of season 2 or it was like just come out. And so I just was like catching up and he's like, oh bro, it's so good. And like, yeah, dang. That's why we're doing this podcast, everybody. Is so we can all re-enjoy
the experience, the newness, the theories, what did you think when this happened, right? Like all that stuff was so fun for us because you watched it with Kansas.
Yeah, I watched it like basically straight through. He showed me a few episodes. We stayed up late, and then was like that whole like week and the next week. I was like, bro, can I come over and watch Attack on Titan? Like, I want to see what happens.
I watched it by myself, but then like I think halfway through, maybe it was like 8 episodes in, I was like, this is so good. I have to watch it with Amanda because like my wife's like not really big at anime, but I'm like, babe, I swear this is really good, right? Yep. So we started watching it together, and then I think we finished season 1, and then we're like, cool. When's season 2 coming out? Oh, years, right?
Like a year and a half later.
They pulled a Star Wars on us, and it's like it's gonna be years. So we waited, and while we were waiting for the second season to come out, a couple of our friends hadn't seen it, and we were like, come sit down. We're going to watch it together. So we got to watch it through multiple times. We got to make up different theories. We got to hear people's different perspectives on how things could go. And it's definitely the preferred way to enjoy your anime. Get out of your basements, kids, and go make some friends that you can watch cool things with.
Yeah, seriously. Like, do it with friends. So I think that concludes episode 2. We've pretty much gone exhaustive on this one. So coming up, we will be live streaming. I want to get a couple episodes like done. These are going to be obviously out on iTunes. We will be live streaming Sunday nights, 8:00 ish. The idea is that I want to start live streaming these things. Obviously, you can listen to them Spotify, iTunes, all that jazz. Watch them on YouTube. Watch them on Facebook. They're going to be everywhere. But I want to set us up so that as season 4 is airing, that Sunday night, I think at least in the past, it's come out on Sunday nights.
Yeah.
And I want to make sure that we're able to. Basically do like a live, like, okay, watch it,
reactions.
Do like live reaction to the show, do like a quick review, because we'll be at the same point where everybody else is at, unless you've read the manga. Please don't freaking spoil it for me. Yeah. So that's the plan. You can find us on social media. We don't have, Facebook.com/Beyond the Basement. And then same thing for the YouTube channel. And then I don't know if you're looking to share your socials on this, but
you can follow me on the street.
You can follow you on the street. Okay, you can find me on Instagram and E.B. Hansen.
Yeah.
Anyway. All right, guys. Thanks for listening. It's been great. We will see you in the next episode, and we'll just keep soldiering on.
Experiencing what's beyond the basement.
We'll keep getting closer back to the basement. All right, guys. It's been a good episode. We'll see you next time. Thanks again for watching and listening. If you're enjoying the show, you can leave us a 5-star review on Apple or Spotify. If you're really loving it and you want some extra cool content, you can join our Patreon page over at patreon.com/beyondthebasementpodcast. Check the show notes or our social media pages for links to some really rad Attack on Titan merch. All right, guys. See you next time.